Hello and welcome to the deep dive spoiler-filled discussion video on 2013's In Fear. Now, I think one of my bigger problems with this movie was character motivations. There wasn't a whole lot of, in my opinion, realistic reactions to the situations that were occurring. And the character of Max, I felt, was way too much of an enigma. There was a certain level of overpowered villain going on for just one guy to be accomplishing everything that he did, but at the same time, when you're also dealing with a cat and mouse game and you are in control of the environment, you know it like the back of your hand. Obviously, he had done a lot of planning, since he has apparently been at this for quite some time, with the hotel being what it was. It made it easier for him to pull the strings, but at the same time, ultimately, what I kept coming back to was why? Why was he doing this? Why, in general, for all these years, and apparently years, with all the, dilapidated cars floating around in the yard there, how had he not been getting caught? Anything like this. I just couldn't figure out the why of it, and nothing about the why made sense, insofar as, even if you were to say that it doesn't make sense, even if you were to say just because, it doesn't explain the ending to this one. I mean, he got hit by the car. Yes, the camera cut and the credits rolled before it happened, but it cut with about that much space between the car and him. He got hit by the car and he let it happen. Why? What was he trying to prove? Why was he doing that to these characters? And if it was just because situation, because he's a Machiavellian sociopath, then why did he allow it to stop? Why did he empower Lucy to kill him, or to run him over with a car, or in any of these situations? I really liked the element of the exhaust pipe going into the trunk, into Tom's mouth, and ultimately, through action, albeit not purposeful action, but through action, having Lucy kill him. I thought that was dreadfully dark and wonderfully morose. So just very macabre, and I loved it. I really liked where they went with that, but I still didn't know why it was happening. There wasn't really a sufficient explanation of that. Was it because Tom spilled his beer? And if that was the case, did everybody that had the dilapidated cars in a lot of the hotels spill their beer? And it still doesn't make sense, because there is no hotel. This was all thought out well in advance before the pub. The guy, Tom made the reservations. So clearly this was going to be orchestrated and happen to him regardless of the pub. So no, it wasn't the beer. So why? And again, even if there was no reason, it doesn't explain the ending. And that's ultimately the point that I got to with this, was without that why. And when I saw the credits roll, I was thinking back on the movie, and although I enjoyed parts of it, I really had to think, what was the point? What was the point that the movie was trying to come across? What was the point of me watching it? I wasn't scared by it. I was only moderately entertained by it. There was parts of it that were annoying. I kind of suffered through some of it. And I don't know what the point was. And that is frustrating for me. So I just figured that was kind of discussion worthy. And I think that it raised a point in my head of the difference between concepts versus screenplays. And how just because you have a good concept doesn't mean it's going to work well in the context of a full-length motion picture, a screenplay where you have 90 pages. It doesn't mean that concept is going to flesh out to that degree. There are movies that are similar to this one that I thought worked really well, but those introduced a lot more elements. They introduced supernatural elements. They introduced character change elements. They introduced spirits and ghouls. The best one I can think of is, what was the name? Dead End. Dead End was a fantastic movie. It had some really great creep factor to it, but you had 4 principal characters in the car, so there was a lot more interaction, a lot more difference of characters, and there was stuff that was happening to them I just thought was more interesting. So as far as taking two people and putting them on a beautiful country road in Ireland and then turning the cameras on for an hour and a half, I couldn't figure out the point, and I thought that what was ultimately a good concept was spread, like Bilbo would say, like butter across too much bread. And it was a shame to see something that was a good concept and see it be ruined by trying to overextend it. So that's just generally how I feel about this one. Ultimately above average, but just a hair. So at this point, I would love to hear from you. If you watched In Fear, if you really liked In Fear, if you didn't like it at all and didn't even think that it deserved the grade I gave it, whatever. I would really love to hear from you. Please leave comments below and let me know what you think. I will be reading them and responding to them and engaging with them. Other than that, I really, really do appreciate you making me a part of your day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you very much.